Bring back bad karma systems in games. Welcome to the CRUBCAST, the weekly dose of controlled chaos in podcast form, where every week, whatever we say and whatever we do gets worse. Look at Brody above me.
Heyo.
Hi, that's Brody. I don't know what his avatar is this week, and I'm not going to let him elaborate. I'm also here with Chris.
I also don't care what Brody's thing is, and I don't care ever.
Yeah, and I don't know if I said my name. My name's Kevin, if you didn't see it on screen. We do have a video version of this podcast on YouTube, and audio version in the audio realms. Follow us wherever you want to follow us. Hopefully that's everywhere. Today's episode is a bit of a rant, I guess, a congealed rant between all of us. We're just going to talk about crappy karma systems because they don't exist anymore in a game genre ecosystem where everything is shades of gray. Mm-hmm. We need maniacally evil karma systems. So stuff like what Fable has done, and thankfully Fable is hopefully going to be back soon. I thought it looked pretty cool, the new game. Stuff like Infamous, which is on Brody's avatar. Stuff like Fallout, where you can just do the most heinously evil things and everyone hates you for it. I think we all kind of miss those because there's some element of I love when it was so comically bad.
Yeah, you call them bad. I call them based, goated, Kino sauced.
I want to make my red karma go up by killing you for that.
That'd be blue karma, actually.
I just, it's nuance is great in some games, but I like me a good, I made one evil choice at the beginning of the game. I guess I'm locked in to the point where I'm locked in on this whole entire series where I only play Infamous games evil the first time through, and I only do good playthroughs as my secondary playthrough.
It's mustache twirling at a point.
That's a good way of putting it.
From dipping into Infamous with you guys the other night for the first time, like straight up, there was a point where you guys watched me where early in the game, there's a guy called Brandon in one of the sewer systems, right? And you see that his wife got sick or died or something, and he's like blocking a fence. Main character Cole McGrath's like, I could tell him about his wife, or I could just kill him and go buy him. And it pops up and it's like karma moment. And like, this is just so like mustache like, and then you have to shoot the gate open to even access either choice. And it's like, you could just slip through and do neither, but you have to make a choice. You have to be good or bad, bro. So of course
Chris,
I killed
please
him.
Please put the screenshot up here of press triangle to kill Brandon or tell Brandon about his wife.
Karma moment. Yes, I will do that. Don't worry.
It's my favorite thing about Infamous. It was the first game that I got the Platinum Trophy in, as we talked about in our trophies episode that may or may not be out. Check on your podcast feed or YouTube feed. If not, it'll be out soon. But that was a fun discussion. And in that, I mentioned Infamous was my first Platinum Trophy. So you had to play the game both good and evil Cole. And I think around that time, that was my first exposure to... No, that wouldn't have been my first exposure. Fallout would have been my first exposure to that sort of game where you just have not really a shades of gray in Fallout 3. There's not really that. You're either good or you're bad. Because neutral doesn't exist. It's just whether you've done enough good and bad to even out. Mm-hmm. And my favorite thing, one of my core memories about Infamous 1 and about the PS3 as a result was the first karma choice essentially being the I don't know who made the joke of... do you want to kill this box of kittens or do you want to give someone a sandwich? Because the first option is that you have to do in Infamous 1 is there's a food drop because it's a post bomb going off in New York City sort of thing. And there's like, federal food drops, and it's either kill everyone and take it for yourself or don't take any. Right. There's not just I'm just going to take it for myself, but not kill you all.
Yeah. No, I've always comically thought of the idea of doing a neutral playthrough of Infamous, but you literally can't. You have to be one or the other. There does not exist a middle space. I think 2 might actually have a middle space that you can maybe kind of like, but you just won't get powers that way. Like there's no incentive.
It makes 2 harder, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, challenge run, neutral playthrough, but like it's just. Yeah, it's fun because it actually, I feel personally, it takes the onus off of me where I get to be the mustache twirling comically evil guy because I can just like commit and be like, well, I'm locked in. It's going to be so over the top evil that I just get to indulge in this. It's not like a choice. It's not a game where it's like nuance where it's like, I'm making a rough choice. I don't know how my actions are going to affect things like moving forward. even in something like Mass Effect that tries to do that, they still do have like the Paragon Renegade system. So it's like, that's the weird one, because they're like, we want nuance and choice, but then we're still going to lock you into a karma system. It's very strange.
Yeah, where each choice goes one way or the other, and there's not like sometimes it's not even like this choice isn't the Paragon choice, but it gives you Paragon points. So then you're like thinking, how do you metagame yourself into a certain path that you want to follow, which takes away from like that role playing element that karma systems are kind of meant to have or meant to have created.
Yeah. I mean, a buddy of mine has played these games so many times. He's played Mass Effect so many times. He does them on like the legendary difficulty, gets all the trophies, whatever it is. There's all of that. And yet still, except for like the one time he has to, he'll always go Paragon. Except for the time that you can punch the reporter in every game. Like he'll do that every single time and still be Paragon.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
You have to.
But it's like, it's comical things like that where I'm like, it's silly. It's over the top. I don't feel bad doing these things because it's just so like comically indulgent versus, a game with nuance. And I love a game with nuance. I love a good Baldur's Gate or whatever it is, but I miss just being comically bad. The only game that I was not straight up not able to do it, and I think the game that started me on like, hey, maybe I'll do good playthroughs sometimes, was when I finally played BioShock. Because that really is the kill kittens thing.
Yeah,
you don't even really get anything for doing the evil thing. Like technically you do, but there's no real incentive for like harvesting the little sisters. There's no reason to not just like save them.
BioShock might be the game that I am eternally most baffled has the reception that it has, because it's a fine game. It's a game that they've admitted only works at all because of the arrow they added that tells you exactly where to go, because the playtesting was so atrocious before that they realized they just needed to have a pointer arrow. It's a game that is, again, very fine, very good, that lives off of the one moment that everyone blew up about because, oh my God, games give you agency and can subvert your expectations. And just because it was the first mainstream game that did that, it has the reception that it does and has a legacy lasting so much longer than the rest of the series has. I mean, we haven't had a BioShock game in longer than BioShock existed.
Yeah.
So it's one of those interesting ones that I always forget that it even has the karma system on top of that. And like I've played all those games that you just mentioned, the harvesting thing, and I was like, oh my God, like that was a flashbulb too. That was a choice in that game.
Yep. I forgot.
It's such a wild trip of a game.
To counter what you said, Brody, I think I'm too much of a softie, because even last night playing Infamous, I was like, oh, right, I'm always the good guy in these games because I don't have it in me to be an asshole. Like, I had to force myself to do some of the mean stuff last night, because even with that food example, Cole walks up and he's like, well, there's probably enough here for me and my people, but I could zap these people away and take it all. And I'm like, well, if there's enough for you, then why... We're in like a desolate city here, man. Like shit's rough out here for a human being, You should probably let people eat food, maybe. But I had to,
especially in a game with a comic aesthetic that's based on the idea of what if we made a good superhero game, because there really haven't been many of those yet.
Yeah.
The idea that you can be the mustache twirling supervillain is very funny, and I will always love them for that. And 2 does it really well. Like 2 actually has the really comically bad evil things, but also has some fun nuance to like how it does it.
2, and again, I don't want to spoil it for Chris because he's working his way there. 2 genuinely has a moment where I always play evil my first playthrough in these games, and like at the very end of 2 had a moment where I was like, oh, I maybe actually regret having done this.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh God. Oh crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 2 thoughts I need to get out of my system in relation to that. The first is just that last night, I made a note of this in our little preparation for today. It was just, again, it's like, it's so quaint looking back at this stuff, because like it really was just kind of pushing new stuff for video games, right? Like I laugh at it, but this stuff was kind of cool back then. There weren't a lot of things doing this until there were. But, at some point, like the game just flashes the black to like load in the next chapter or something, and it flashes up like an actual quote to just really like cherry on top everything. And it brings a quote from some guy who's like, every man is guilty of all the good he did not do. I'm like, man, we're just really grounding it in here. But to the ultimate point, just to spoil the end of Infamous Second Son, which I'm just going to say is a game that no one should really care about the story for. So if you're like still holding out on that, cover your ears for like 15 seconds.
Hold on, Chris. I got to put on my second son beanie with you. Hold on.
Yeah, in solidarity, put on your Delson Rowe cap with me. But the ending of the evil route is him like going up and skybombing his like adoptive family, and I'm like, who wanted this anyway? Like, there's being evil, and then it's just
the only
like,
evil thing in that game that I can recall too. Like, that's the thing about Second Son.
It's monstrous.
Is, like, Second Son was so unfinished of a game and so underbaked of a game that like there was that that famous bit of them doing lines. The voice actors were reading lines that were being written as they were reading them, essentially. Like, the scripts were not given to them. It was just, they were like, here's what you're going to say. Because it was that late in production, to the point that like the evil ending comes so out of nowhere and is so extra comically evil, where the entire rest of the game is trying to make you pretend that Delson is either a good guy or a little shit, but he's always kind of a little shit even when he's a good guy. Like,
yeah, he's just kind of a little bit more of a punk if he's evil up until the ending. And then the ending is just like, what if he murdered like
if that was directed toward like one of the villains in the game and he was just like incredibly violent about it, I'd be like, okay, that's an evil ending, and then maybe you could debate the good or badness of it. But it's straight up like, oh my god, I forgot these characters even existed. Why on earth would he decimate them from existence? And then he does with like, does he smile when the camera shows him go up? Or
there's a smile.
Okay,
yeah, he does the Murray thunderflop move on him. Like,
yeah, that's actually the animation they took. Yeah, that was a reused animation from the Murray Thunderflop. That whole the biggest thing from that game where you just do the big sky attack thing. That was all in Sly 2. Don't look it up.
I've heard that if you turn the transparency up on that shot in Second Son, you can see Murray with him like thumbs upping. He's approving of it.
Glad I could help.
That's a funny game. I'm sorry. That's like so off the track at this point.
Second Son, that was your first Infamous experience of note, and I still love when you got to the bit of when you get to the second island, which is, again, very underbaked. And it's just, you get thrown. Do you remember it better than I do, Chris?
It's at the part where I think you're going after like the evil military director lady or like CIA lady or whatever she's supposed to be. And she brings up like the big concrete monsters to fight you. And I think one just like decks Delson across the face and then slides into the camera screen and it fades to black. And it is presumed that it is like picking you up, and then you just fade back in like on some rooftop or something. Like maybe you see
like the
something
second island
carrying Delson, but he just wakes up back in gameplay and he's like, well, I was going to the Lantern District anyway. I'm like, why didn't they kill you? What do you mean they dropped you off on like a roof? What is happening? How did we get from there to here? What is this?
Why didn't they kill you? And also, I don't believe they actually mentioned much about the Lantern District prior to that, nor that was the place you were going to go. It was just kind of like maybe a little bit foreshadowed of like, oh, we should probably go there eventually. It was not, oh, I meant to go here anyway. I meant to shit my pants. Like that's what that is. That's what that is. Delson meant to shit his pants.
Yeah, I was shitting my pants anyway, bro. So like, joke's on you, idiot.
But
that game sucks.
Like, karma.
Are we done with Second Son?
I mean, I think everyone is. It goes by pretty quick.
Okay. I'll take my Delson hat off.
Like, when it comes to karma, I think there's interesting ways to do it. Like, I think of like more of the weirder ways. Like, there's an honor system in like the Red Dead Redemption, John Marston, where I don't think any of that is tied to missions. It's all kind of like whatever you're doing in gameplay, whether you're murdering civilians or you're helping. It's just little things. I've always found it funny where games will interact where it's like, there's a karma system, and some of it is tied to story choices, or maybe you do like a good or bad side mission, and then some of it is just baked into the gameplay. And it's always strange because usually when it's baked into the gameplay, it can come in a way where if you're dedicated enough, you can offset the story thing. So like in Infamous, you could theoretically do all good choices or all bad choices, and then just do enough of the like, oh, I saved a random civilian on the street to like offset that. And it would take a long time, but you could do it. But the funniest version of that is in Fallout 3. When I was going for the platinum, there's 3 trophies for being good or evil at different like level milestones.
Right.
And every time before those milestones hit, like right before I leveled up, I would save the game, create a new save file, and I was doing an evil playthrough. So I would just go and like give a bunch of water bottles to a homeless guy. Like I would just give him thousands of water bottles to reset my thing to good, level up, get the trophy, and then go back to my main save. It's just so funny. Like you can nuke an entire town, but if you give a homeless guy 1,000 water bottles, that offsets the karmic scales in the universe.
Yes.
Again, Brody, like man's only guilty of the good he did not do. So when you gave like 300 water bottles to one human being, balance it out.
Yeah. And Fallout's so interesting with that because, like, a good example of Fallout 3 specifically, because the other Fallout games are much better in how they handle their karma systems besides 4. And Fallout 3 has a really interesting element that I've always enjoyed, which is when I went back, I think last year, I played it on my Steam Deck and went through everything. And it was a game I had hundreds of hours in. And I did everything on my second playthrough, or my most recent playthrough on Steam Deck in, like, I think 50 hours. And I was like, oh, that was shorter than I thought. And it was the Tenpenny Tower mission, which is the one where you can nuke an entire town, which is just a giant tower. You can just do that, or you can nuke Megaton, rather. You can nuke Megaton because the guy from Tenpenny Tower asks you to. But the Tenpenny Tower mission is like one of the very rare shades of gray that Fallout 3 has. Because Fallout 3 has like choices that are pretty close to objectively good choices and objectively evil choices. And in Tenpenny Tower, like if you go and kill specifically just the racist old guy and like say, hey, you should allow the ghouls to integrate into your town, you're being really mean to them, the ghouls will then go and kill all the humans. So like no matter what, you can't avoid that outcome of either all the ghouls have to die or all the humans have to die, or you don't do that mission. And I always liked that one element of that was the first time that like I had played a game that had the karmic system that was like, oh, I did the right thing, and that ended up in a way I didn't expect. And there's probably a moral there, but I'm going to go kill all these ghouls.
Yeah.
Now that they've taken over the town, or the tower.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, because I think New Vegas is such an interesting example of how you can offset such a... That game still has the Fallout 3 binary karma system, good or bad, but they also have a separate system where every single faction and town in that game has its own opinion of you depending on what you've done. And even though there's still that karma system where it's like, okay, I'm playing, maybe evil in a way, it's like, oh, these towns like these factions like. So one, I can be mustache twirling and still do stuff, which was cool, but I think what prevents me from being the mustache twirling villain in games with more nuance that don't have the binary karma system is if I'm playing a first playthrough of a game that's based on choices, it's like, oh, there's nuance. I'm going to just make the choices I would make, regardless of good or evil. I'm just going to make the choices I would make. I'm going to roleplay as myself. Maybe a second playthrough, I'll do like a funny character bit or something. But usually first playthrough, I'll be myself if there's nuance. If there's not nuance, I'll be typically. And like, yeah, any game, Baldur's Gate 3 or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, I'll just make the choices that I would make to see goes. That's interesting and it's right. New Vegas is so telling because it's kind of able to have its cake and eat it too.
Yeah, like you can be chaotic good. You can be an asshole and still do the right thing. And I always appreciated that element of like, or this town hates you and you can't do anything to help that, even though you did the right thing for them. They now hate you for it. It's what makes New Vegas, this game that has this outsized legacy that, will live on longer than a lot of the other games in the series, just because it's able to hit that in that way. And also the comically evil bullshit from Fallout 3, I do really enjoy. And I don't remember any karmic choices of note from 4. Partly because you had the voice acting, so like any choice you made was like still Mass Effect styled, where like it would say, oh, I don't agree with you. And then the voice acting would be, I'm going to punch you in the face. And I'm like, all right, I didn't say that, but cool.
Right.
So there was that element there in Fallout 4 as well. And it kind of moved away from the hokey karma system that was like just, again, maniacally evil, mustache twirling, that people started to make fun of. And I understand why people started to make fun of it, because it was a very gaming way to address the concept of choice and nuance, that it was just completely binary, exaggerated, and then slowly molded back into reasonable and nuanced.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how games do everything.
It's had me kind of trying to remember, like, what was the last, like, big notable example of this? You know what I mean? Because it was very defining for, like, that 360 period, but feel like we got to a point
Prototype
of like
is the last one I recall.
Prototype. Like I feel like we eventually got to like the Disco Elysium, like just kind of shove it into actual RPGs where it really matters and there's a lot of different nuance, right? I never played Prototype, so I guess that probably would be the last one. Like I can't remember anything else really notable at a point, and that was a long time ago at this point.
Prototype is like bad Infamous.
Pretty
I don't
much.
remember much about Prototype. I've heard 2's okay, but I didn't really care to try 2 because why would I after having played 1?
Pretty much.
But that had, from what I recall, that sort of system. I don't remember anything about it because that was just kind of a game that came and went from my psyche.
I don't even know. I might honestly. I don't remember if Prototype even had that or if we're just actually complaining.
I thought it also. I'm gonna look it up. You keep going.
Prototype, I think, kind of incentivized you to basically just mow down like hundreds of civilians with stuff. Like it was basically like, as I remember it, it was guiltless Infamous, where it was like just basically maybe there was choices. I really don't remember, but I'm thinking of like notable games which have binary karma systems. Because Chris asked like, what is a recent example? And I think in terms of what we're saying in the most stringent sense, it has been a long time. But I do think that there does exist kind of a genre of game that keeps the spirit alive a little bit. And that's like 90% of stealth games. Because Kojima basically set a tone for stealth games where it was like, hey, if you want to do this like no alerts, no kills, there's maybe a little bit of incentive for you to do that. And a game like Dishonored takes that and says, well, there's not necessarily going to be story ramifications for if you're like, loud and violent versus, quiet and non-lethal. But if you're non-lethal or if you're not loud, the game world itself will kind of be this pristine world. Whereas if you're very lethal and stuff like that, if you're killing a lot of enemies because you're leaving a lot of corpses around, the game world will become like very dingy and like rats will take over the world because there's so many corpses around. You're basically like creating a plague. And I think that's really cool. A lot of stealth games have that, like Deus Ex, right? Very like choice-driven RPG, but also within the gameplay mechanics itself, it's like, yeah, you can be quiet, non-lethal, loud, violent. And I think that that's a cool way of doing that because it is binary in a way. You're making a binary choice whether to kill or not kill, but it's not necessarily like represented in a like red blue karma thing. But so
it depends though, because I don't remember. I never got super far in the more recent Deus Ex games, but like those, I don't think give you, from what I know, a significant reward for going quiet. Essentially, like that's kind of just a choice, like you said, that you make. Like Metal Gear kind of says some things about, oh, this section is technically harder or more thought-provoking if you did kill in Metal Gear Solid 3, but it doesn't really it's like Death Stranding is the closest that I can think of to a game where besides Dishonored, where killing versus not killing has that actual impact, because if you kill and leave a corpse, it will destroy that part of the world inevitably. That doesn't happen in 2 from what I've seen. I think you can make it happen in 2, but as far as I can see, like the good guys just take the body and say, hey, we gave you minus 5,000 likes. Thumbs down.
Yeah, Deus Ex is one where it is leaning more into the nuance because there was like choices, things like that, versus a Dishonored where your choices amount to kill or no kill. There are some stories, like there's usually a because the game wants to offer you a no kill version of the game. There is always a way, because the objective is go into a level, kill this assassination target. There is always a way to beat the level where you don't kill the assassination target and you do some extra objective to basically like have something happen to them. Sometimes like a fate that could be interpreted as worse than death, right? Like you brand a guy and then like basically mark him as a heretic and like he's gonna have a horrible life, or you take this guy who you're supposed to kill, this aristocrat, but there's someone at his party who's basically like madly in love with him, so you basically kidnap him, give him to her, and she just takes him away and like keeps him trapped forever in like a dungeon. And it's like, that's horrific, potentially a fate worse than death, and yet it's still technically the quote unquote good choice. It's not said to be good. You're not told like this is the good thing to do, but it is the non-lethal.
Yeah, and that's honestly at a point that's just kind of an immersive sim thing of giving you the option to make sure that you are not locked into anything. As far as going back to Prototype sort of is just a game that doesn't have karmic choices, but from what I could find, you get bonuses for not killing people, but you get health for killing people. So the idea was like the game is harder for you if you are a good guy, because it wants you to mindlessly kill and be a bad guy.
Gotcha.
So it's not a karma system, but it's still kind of comically evil because you physically get stronger for sucking blood, sort of.
Yeah.
It's an interesting inverse of what I was experiencing in Infamous last night, right? Where once I started going evil, people just throw rocks at you everywhere you go, apparently. So you're kind of punished a little more for going evil. But yeah, I feel like this died off, I guess, around PS4 time then. Something about that console change just made people stop.
It really, it's not even just that. We had 7 years of that at that point. I mean, karma systems didn't really hit too hard outside of, Shadow the Hedgehog until probably BioShock, Fallout, 07, 08-ish. And they kind of just ran for a few years and then started getting made fun of because people were like, man, this is lame as hell. Also probably partly because you had Uncharted bringing in a bunch of like non-gamers and being like this gateway of people coming into the games industry. And so on one hand, you had the funny element of Nathan Drake kills 5,000 people and is a good guy.
Right, yeah. Classic narrative thing.
Yep. On the other hand, you had the element of these people then go to like an Infamous and go, oh, this is like bad. Like this isn't well done. It's funny, but it's not well done. Right. And it's like, again, it's the gaming thing where it starts off super exaggerated because that's just the way that it's done, and then it becomes more of a polished art form as time then goes on, and people make fun of it and like want more thought coming out of those systems. But I'm sure there are games that exist nowadays that still do the comically evil, like mustache twirling karma system. I'm sure there's a couple indie games that do it specifically.
I'm sure there's a whole swath of indie games that we just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of big name stuff, it really is like it's kind of a big deal that like there's a new Fable potentially coming. Let's see if it gets canceled, but there's a new Fable potentially coming, and they're just kind of doing that.
Yeah, and that seemed very true to life to what Fable had been, and I forgot how much I enjoyed. I had said before the Fable reveal, the more recent reveal, I had said in our private server, like, I don't know how you do Fable nowadays. This is what actually I think started this discussion for this being the episode of this podcast. I don't know how you do a Fable karma system or Fable as a game without like it not being Fable anymore. Like, because you can't do a modern Fable game. You have to do an old Fable game.
Nuanced
with, like, modern
Fable
controls. And from what the reveal was, like I said right after I saw that trailer, I was like, oh, the answer was just say screw it and make literally just Fable again. Don't respond to feedback. Don't respond to people making fun of how bad Fable 3's karmic system was and how outdated it was compared to 3 years prior even in Fable 2. Just make Fable where you kick chickens. You can become an evil landlord immediately. You can sell your son into slavery and then buy him back. Like stuff like that. That just like actually the most comically evil things you could do in a game. Just about you can do in Fable. And so the new one having all of that made me realize, oh God, I missed that because that is hilarious. Because
I'm always thinking like if there was a new Infamous game or something, like you can't detach the binary karma system from that game. It has to be there. It was so funny. Chris asked me the other night, hey, why are the IN like lowercase and the famous capitalized? I'm like, well, because you can be infamous or you can be famous.
And it was just one of those moments of like, oh, of course, duh, but goddamn.
And to your point, like, you can't do an Infamous without it being like comically evil mustache twirling. The other side of it is I actually really liked how Ghost of Tsushima did it because it did kind of have an implicit karma system by way of whether you decided to do the dishonorable ghost strategies or whether you walked in and were a samurai. And it would affect the surroundings. People didn't find out for like 3 years, I think, that the storms surrounding the island are worse if you do more ghostly things. Oh. Because the whole story of the Mongol invasion of Tsushima Island was that a typhoon took out the invasion and sent them packing. And that in the universe of Ghost of Tsushima, that was the cover story, because there was also a storm. But the idea being like, oh, the more things you do that go against your teachings and against your heritage, the worse the surroundings are, in a very what if Infamous was subtle kind of way. And I really liked that for what it was, because it was a very binary choice, and you kind of felt like you didn't have a choice. And then you realize as time goes on in that game that you are feeding into you're feeding into the story that it wants to tell you, in that, like, oh, the more you use ghost powers, the easier combat is. So you could do it the hard way and be an honorable samurai. And there is some, ludonarrative dissonance with Jin Sakai saying like, oh, I feel terrible. I'm thinking about my uncle while, showering.
Just
because I've now killed this man quietly.
Yeah.
And like some people thought that was hokey, but if you like play into the idea of the game's mechanics, it actually does complement it really well. It's just that most people are going to play in the dominant strategy way, so they're going to play a third-person game with stealth.
Yeah, and like that's interesting. I didn't connect with that game in so many ways because mechanically it's not what I Sucker Punch, but as with karma systems specifically, I think that is a really, really interesting.
Yeah, like it's one of those like videos that if I had a way to make it without having to play the game a third time, because I've played that game multiple times at this point, once for a playthrough, once to record it for the idea of this video, and then I never made the video. Like I would love to talk about how cool that game was at evolving what Sucker Punch has done with the idea of evolving what it brought to the table with Sly Cooper, and then with the karmic system of Infamous in a way that was nuanced, but also still had the two choices that felt very like good or evil, even if they weren't good or evil. It's
a good show, because I was going to briefly say, because you touched on Shadow the Hedgehog, and let's take away what that game is in so many ways. Just look at it at the karma thing. I feel like Shadow the Hedgehog, weirdly, as one of the kind of progenitors of having that kind of karma system, potentially maybe even the first one, it is so funny that it is probably the most nuanced version of a strictly binary karma system, right? Because there's 10 endings to that game. And it's based on if you're making good or bad choices or neutral choices, because you can make neutral choices in that game.
I mean, Outrun was the first karmic choice system, if you really think about it.
Yeah, Brody, come on. Brody doesn't know what Outrun is.
Because Shadow is just Outrun, but with killing.
We'll fill you in on Outrun after the show, Brody. Don't worry. You'll get this, and you'll be like, good shout.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
okay.
But to your point, I will say, just to save you some flack from any comments that might see this out of context, KOTOR is not the first one, but it was before Shadow.
That's right.
Shadow is the first one to like children. Because like I think KOTOR kind of appealed to like a slightly older crowd than like a Shadow the Hedgehog sort of deal, and like Fable kind of appealed equally to both. And Fable was also, I think, before Shadow 1. Fable 1 was before Shadow. Excuse me.
I had no idea.
Because Fable 1 would have been Xbox original, 2 was I think 2008, 3 was 2011.
Yeah. I also just think of like Shadow the Hedgehog as like the quintessential Vegeta anti-hero, is the perfect like vehicle for doing that kind of karma thing. Maybe it's just because I have that association with him because of that game, but he always did feel like that kind of character for so long. So I think it's Cole McGrath very much felt like a extension of that, where except he was just the main protagonist from the jump of like he could be good or evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'll also say obviously Fallout 1 had karma, so like there was karma going further back. I don't remember if Wasteland had karma before Fallout. Karma in Fallout 1 wasn't a huge deal. That's more so, I think, 2, from what I recall. It's been so long since I played that I could be making phantom thoughts up in my head. But whatever the case, any wrap-up thoughts here as far as us missing the idea of crappy, super binary karma systems?
I'll give a shout-out to, just briefly because of the stealth game thing, I'll give a shout out to like games, I don't know the developer, but there's the games like Desperados 3, Shadow Tactics, and the Shadow Gambit, the pirate one. and they're all these they're stealth real-time stealth tactics games, but you can like pause the thing and you play multiple characters at once. But they have a system where it is a stealth game, so you can do the non-lethal thing, but they make the choice to basically say where other games will give you, like even in Infamous, you have different powers based on whether you're going good or evil, or in Dishonored, it's like, okay, well, if I'm not choosing to kill everyone, I basically can't use like 75% of this arsenal. Shadow Tactics basically just has hey, do you want to toggle a non-lethal version of all of your abilities? Because you can just do that. So there's no actual like gameplay difference. And there's something to be said about like, I think it's cool in Infamous that you get 2 different playthroughs out of that game because you get different abilities. I also think it's cool to say, hey, do it the way you want it.
Chris, any final thoughts?
It was the main thing I was thinking about going through it today. Is like, oh, this was like a reason to actually go through the game back then, though. Again, right? That's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah.
So far, it's been kind of cool seeing like it cut to these comic book style cutscenes, and he's like, oh, I just rescued this train, but I'm still evil, bro. Right? And it did have me like, well, I guess I want to play through again and see the good version of that, right? That's kind of neat. No real thoughts other than like, I'm not sure if I miss the karma stuff or if I just miss being that age and that time period more specifically.
That's fair.
But, it is really fun to look back and like, again, it's like I said, this was like kind of cool stuff back then. So I don't want to seem like I'm like punching down and being real mean on it, but it's just so kind of quaint. And it just feels like so of the era that it just always makes me laugh to go back and look at this stuff specifically. Because like it's just so cartoonishly evil. Like just immediately having to like decide if I want to starve people or not is just so like chef's kiss, like microcosm of everything this was, that it just really had me like, man, I miss being half the age I am now. This shit was stupid. That's fun.
Like, I don't know if edgy teenagers need an avenue, man. Because edgy teenagers can't be mustache twirling in video games. They're going to go out and do it in public. Like,
video games don't cause violence; they prevent violence.
Yeah, it's a lightning rod for bad behavior.
And you're not, since the karma system's gone away, things have been bad.
You're right. Yeah, it's like you get aggression out by playing sports. You get all your weird stuff out. Yeah, people play The Sims and they do weird stuff to their Sims. It's like, hey, that's basically just what I'm doing in Infamous when I kill a guy and wonder how his family is going to react.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to let you relitigate that thought because that's
okay. There's a short about it. You can find it.
Don't find it. Dear viewer and listener, let us know what your thoughts are about, again, I'm calling them crummy or crappy karma systems just because that's the funniest way to put it. Let us know what you think about those in the comments and the reviews, wherever you can respond to these podcasts. And while you're there, make sure to leave a like, a little thumbs up. Unless you're evil, then leave a thumbs down. But be good. Leave a thumbs up.
Karma moment.
Or a review. A review in the audio realms. If there's a way to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform of choice, that's the best way to help spread the word of the CRUBCAST to other viewers. And the good news is that no matter what, all your reviews will be Paragon, because even if you say that you don't like the episode, somehow it'll end up with 5 stars. So, no matter what you do, your mouse will go over or your thumb will hit the 5-star button and you will give us a good review, even if you hate us.
Yeah.
My favorite karma system is choosing Pokemon Sapphire or Ruby.
For the rest of Crub, we still don't have an outro. Bye everybody.